On an ordinary Tuesday morning, the sunbeam arrived right on schedule. For 7 years, the little ginger cat had met it on the windowsill, every single day, without fail. Maya poured her coffee and waited for the familiar soft thud of paws landing on warm wood. It never came. Biscuit sat on the floor below the window, staring up at the light he could not reach. He gathered himself to jump the way he always had, and then, quietly, he simply did not. He looked at Maya instead with those wide amber eyes, as if asking a question neither of them understood. Nothing was bleeding, nothing was broken. He was eating, he was purring. By every measure Maya knew to check, her cat was perfectly fine. But something in that small refusal to jump would unravel everything she thought she knew. This is the story of all the things she got wrong, without ever realizing it. Here is the truth that almost cost Biscuit his life. Cats are not small, stubborn dogs. They are a different kind of creature entirely, wired by millions of years to hide exactly the things we most need to see. The signs were there for months. Maya missed every one of them, not because she was careless, but because she loved him the way most of us love our cats. With a full bowl, a warm lap, and 1,000 quiet assumptions that turned out to be wrong. By the end of this story, you will see your own cat differently. You will notice things you walk past every day. Some of what you believe about keeping a cat happy is doing the opposite. The good news is that almost all of it is fixable once you know. So stay with Maya, stay with Biscuit. Because the morning he stopped jumping was only the very beginning. Maya Ellison lived on the 3rd floor of a tired brick building in a town called Cedar Hollow. She had found Biscuit 8 years earlier, a half-starved kitten with a notched ear, shivering under a parked car in the rain. She wrapped him in her scarf and promised him a good life. And she meant it. She bought the toys. She kept the bowl full. She talked to him through long winters when he was the only one who listened. To anyone watching, Maya was a devoted owner, and Biscuit was a lucky cat. That was all true. But love and knowledge are not the same thing. Maya adored Biscuit with her whole heart, and still almost everything she did for his comfort was built on ideas she had never once questioned. They were the same ideas most of us carry, passed down, repeated, and never examined. The first one lived right there in his food bowl. The bowl was always full. Maya thought of it as kindness. She would top it up whenever it dipped low so that Biscuit could eat whenever he pleased, day or night. Free feeding, the bag had called it. It felt generous. It felt like love. What it actually did was erase the most important rhythm in a cat's body. In the wild, a cat hunts, catches, eats, and rests. 10 or more tiny meals, each one earned through effort and patience. A bowl that never empties removes the hunting, the effort, and the pause. Biscuit no longer ate because he was hungry. He ate because the food was simply endlessly there. Out of boredom, out of habit, out of the quiet anxiety of a life with too little to do. And slowly, one unremarkable mouthful at a time, the gentlest cruelty of all began to take shape inside him. It happened so slowly that Maya never saw it. A few extra grams a month, a rounder face, a belly that swayed a little when he walked. She called him Chonky and kissed his head and felt nothing but affection. Everyone online seemed to agree that a chubby cat was a happy cat. But Biscuit was not built to carry this. A cat's body is a hunter's body, lean and spring-loaded, and every extra ounce pressed on his joints, his heart, and his liver. Here is the part that terrifies veterinarians. In cats, fat is not lazy. It is active. It seeps into the organs and quietly rewrites how the body works. Biscuit was not a happy, chubby cat. He was a sick cat wearing a costume of comfort. And because he purred and curled in her lap each night, Maya had no reason on earth to suspect the danger thickening inside him. Then there was the water. Maya kept his bowl exactly where any sensible person would, right beside his food, against the kitchen wall. It seemed obvious, food and water side by side, like a little place setting, but cats almost never drink well beside their food. In the wild, a cat would never drink where it eats because water near a kill means contamination. That instinct still lives in your house cat. And the bowl against the wall forced Biscuit to face away from the room while he drank, his whiskers brushing the rim, his back exposed. Whiskers are not decoration. They are exquisitely sensitive instruments, and a narrow bowl overwhelms them with every sip. So Biscuit did what most cats do. He drank as little as he could, a few reluctant laps a day, and a cat who does not drink enough is a cat walking slowly toward a cliff he cannot see. To understand why that matters, you have to understand where cats come from. Their ancestors were desert hunters, animals who pulled nearly all their water from fresh prey and rarely drank at all. That brilliant design came with a hidden cost. The cat's thirst signal is weak, dangerously weak. A cat can be quietly dehydrated and feel almost no urge to drink. For a wild cat eating moist prey, this was no problem. For Biscuit, eating dry kibble from a bowl that never emptied, it was a slow catastrophe. His kidneys, the hardest working organs he owned, were being asked to do their job without enough water, year after year after year. They did not complain. Cats almost never do. They simply endured, cell by cell, losing a little ground each season. By the time a cat shows you his kidneys are failing, he has often already lost most of them. Silence is their first language. As that first winter of his 8th year deepened, the small changes multiplied. Biscuit slept more, but Maya thought older cats simply slept more. He stopped greeting her at the door, but she told herself he was just relaxed and secure. The feather toy gathered dust in the corner. The crinkle ball rolled under the couch and stayed there. He began choosing the dark space beneath the bed over his usual sunlit chair. Each of these, on its own, looked like nothing. Like a cat being a cat. And that is the cruel genius of it. Decline in a cat does not arrive with alarms. It arrives disguised as personality, as preference, as the comfortable settling of an older pet into quiet routines. Maya read every small surrender as contentment. She was watching her best friend slowly withdraw from his own life, and from across the room it looked exactly like peace. There is a belief so common, it has become almost a slogan. Cats are low maintenance, independent, aloof. They do not need much. We repeat it in pet stores and apartment listings, and it gives us permission to look away. But it is one of the most dangerous myths a cat owner can hold. A cat is not low maintenance. A cat is low complaint. Those are not the same thing at all. Biscuit needed enrichment, attention, the thrill of the hunt, and a body kept lean and strong. He needed all of it as deeply as any dog who whines at the leash. He simply could not ask. So the world decided he did not need it. Maya believed she had given Biscuit an easy, happy life. What she had actually given him, without ever meaning to, was a comfortable and very lonely kind of boredom. And then came the thing Maya regretted most. One evening she found a dark stain soaked into the corner of the rug, just outside the litter box. Biscuit had never done that. She was tired and she was human, and she scolded him. She raised her voice and pointed and watched him flatten his ears and slink away. She believed, as so many of us do, that he had done it out of spite. To punish her, to make a point. But cats do not do spite. They have no machinery for revenge. A cat who suddenly avoids the litter box is almost always a cat in distress. He may be in pain, he may be sick. He may be telling you in the only language he has that something is deeply wrong. Biscuit had not betrayed Maya that night. He had tried to warn her, and she had answered his cry for help with anger. The litter box itself held mistakes Maya never knew she was making. There was one box for one cat, tucked in a cramped corner of the bathroom beside the noisy water heater. The rule among people who truly know cats is simple. One box per cat, plus one extra in calm and separate places. A cat wants two exits, a clear line of sight, and quiet. A single box in a startling corner can feel, to a cat, like a trap. And the litter mattered too. Heavily perfumed to please the human nose, it overwhelmed a creature who smells the world 14 times more keenly than we do. Every uncomfortable detail nudged Biscuit, already aching inside, toward avoiding the box altogether. What looked to Maya like bad behavior was really a small animal trying to cope with a setup quietly designed against him. None of it was his fault. All of it was fixable. Maya had also worried for years about the couch. Biscuit scratched it, and she had read fierce online debates about declawing, about whether to have it done to save her furniture. She never did, thank goodness, but she punished the scratching, squirting him with water, pulling him away. Here is what she did not understand. Scratching is not damage. It is need. A cat scratches to shed old claw sheaths, to stretch the long muscles of the back and shoulders, and to leave scent that says, "This place is mine and I am safe here." Forbidding it without offering a proper post is like forbidding a person to stretch. And declawing is not a manicure. It is the amputation of the last bone of every toe. Maya had unknowingly punished Biscuit for one of the healthiest things he did. He was not ruining her couch. He was simply being a cat in a home that had no place for it. There was the way Maya handled him, too. She loved to scoop him up and rub his soft belly, and she could never understand why he sometimes twisted and nipped her hand. The cat who bites for no reason, people call it. But there is always a reason, and there is almost always a warning. A cat's belly is its most vulnerable place, guarded by instinct, and an exposed belly is more often a sign of trust than an invitation to touch. Before every nip, Biscuit had told her clearly: the tail that began to lash, the skin that rippled along his back, the ears that turned, the body that stiffened mid-stroke. These were sentences, and Maya had read right past them. Overstimulation is real, and the line between pleasure and too much can arrive in seconds. Biscuit was never lashing out. He was speaking louder and louder because his quieter words had gone unheard. By late January, the bottom finally fell out. Maya came home to find Biscuit pressed into the farthest corner under the bed, refusing to come out even for food, his favorite treats. The crackle of the bag that always brought him running. Nothing. When she finally drew him out, he felt lighter in her arms and his gums. When she looked, were pale. Something cold moved through her. The next morning she sat in the waiting room of Cedar Hollow Veterinary, Biscuit silent in his carrier, and a kind, tired man named Dr. Anand Rao called them in. He had spent 20 years learning to read what cats refused to say. He ran his hands over Biscuit's body, looked into his mouth, and went very still. Then he looked at Maya with the gentle seriousness of someone about to change everything she believed. "Your cat," he said softly, "has been hiding this for a long time." Dr. Rao explained it slowly so it would land. Every instinct in a cat is built to conceal weakness. For millions of years, the cat was both hunter and hunted. A predator who shows pain loses the next meal. A small animal who shows pain becomes one. So evolution wrote a single ruthless rule deep into the cat. Never let it show. Your cat is not stoic by accident. He is stoic by design. That limp he hides, that meal he quietly leaves, that game he no longer plays. Each is a clue dropped only when the pain has grown too large to fully bury. By the time a cat looks sick to us, Dr. Rao said, he has usually been sick for a very long time. This is why the gentlest, most attentive owners are still blindsided. We are not failing to look. We are watching an animal who has spent eons perfecting the art of not being seen. The first thing Dr. Rao had found was in Biscuit's mouth. Beneath the lip, the gums were swollen and an angry red, and several teeth were rimmed with infection. Dental disease, he said, is the most common illness in adult cats, and the most overlooked. The majority of cats over the age of 3 are living with it right now. Imagine a deep toothache that never, ever stops, and never being able to tell a single soul. That had been Biscuit's daily life. It hurt to eat, so he favored soft mouthfuls and bolted his food. The pain wore him down quietly from the inside, and the danger does not stay in the mouth. Bacteria from infected gums slip into the bloodstream and strike the heart, the liver, the kidneys. The thing Maya had never thought to check, never once lifted a lip to see, had been silently poisoning the cat she loved. Then came the blood work, and the number that made Maya's stomach drop. Biscuit's kidney values were high. His years of too little water, of dry food, and a bowl he hated had quietly cost him. Early kidney disease, Dr. Rao said, and the room seemed to tilt. His weight, the soft roundness Maya had found so endearing, had strained his joints and crowded his organs and helped push his body toward this edge. None of it had happened overnight. It was the slow sum of 100 ordinary days. 100 small kindnesses that were really small harms in disguise. Maya sat with her hand on the carrier and understood for the first time that loving Biscuit had never been enough. She had needed to understand him, and the gap between those two things, between love and understanding, was the exact size of everything now gone wrong. But Dr. Rao did not leave her in the dark. He leaned forward and told her the part that mattered most. Almost all of this, he said, was preventable, and much of it could still be turned around. Then he told her something that reframed everything. A cat does not only suffer in its body, it suffers in its mind. An indoor cat with nothing to chase, nothing to climb, nothing to solve, lives in a kind of beautiful prison. Boredom, in a hunter, is its own slow illness. Biscuit had spent years with the same 3 toys on the same flat floor in the same quiet rooms. His brilliant predator's mind, capable of patience and strategy and joy, had been left with almost nothing to do. Part of what had dimmed in him was not just disease. It was the simple, grinding sadness of a wild thing with no wildness left to live. And then Dr. Rao told her the thing she would never forget. "You have been speaking to him," he said, "in a language he does not have." Maya had shown her love with food and a full bowl and worried hands. But a cat speaks in other ways. In the slow blink across a room that means "I trust you." In the tail held high like a raised flag of joy. In the headbutt that marks you as family and the quiet choice to sit near you, asking for nothing at all. Biscuit had been speaking this language to Maya for 8 years, and she had never been taught to hear it. "When you understand a cat," Dr. Rao said gently, "you stop managing a pet and you start meeting a friend." Maya looked at the small ginger cat in the carrier and felt 8 years of missed conversations settle over her like snow. She decided in that fluorescent little room that she would learn. Not the easy way, the comfortable way, but the real way. The way that asked her to change. Dr. Rao cleaned the rotten teeth and treated the infection, and for the first time in longer than anyone knew, Biscuit's mouth did not hurt. At home, everything shifted. The bottomless bowl disappeared, replaced by measured meals and small puzzle feeders that made him work, and think, and hunt again. She switched him to wet food rich in moisture, and added a softly bubbling water fountain across the room, because cats are drawn to water that moves. She placed a second litter box in a calm, open corner, and threw out the perfumed litter. Each change was small. Each one undid a quiet harm. And piece by careful piece, Maya began rebuilding the life she had given him by accident into one she chose on purpose. The recovery was not a single bright morning. It was a slow returning. She set a tall scratching post by the window, and he sank his claws into it with an almost grateful stretch. She mounted shelves up the wall so he could climb, because a cat's world is not only the floor, it rises, and height to a cat means safety and dominion and peace. Every evening she pulled out a feather wand and let him stalk and pounce and catch, giving his hunter's heart somewhere to go. The weight came off slowly, the right way, a little at a time. The puzzle feeders woke something in him. And one quiet day, Maya knelt on the rug, caught his gaze and blinked at him, slow and deliberate. Across the room, Biscuit looked back at her steadily, and then softly his amber eyes closed and opened in answer. He had been speaking this language all along. Spring came late to Cedar Hollow that year, but it came. One ordinary morning, the sunbeam arrived on the windowsill, right on schedule, the way it always had. Maya was pouring her coffee when she heard it, a sound she had not heard in months and had been afraid she might never hear again. The soft, certain thud of paws landing on warm wood. She turned, and there he was. Biscuit, lean and bright-eyed, sitting in his sunbeam on the sill, his notched ear catching the light, his tail curled neat around his paws. He looked at her, and he blinked, slow and easy. Maya stood in her small kitchen, with her coffee going cold in her hands, and cried, the way you cry only when something you almost lost is handed back to you. He had jumped. After everything, her cat had jumped again, and this time she finally understood what it had cost him to ever stop. Maya thinks about that often now, about how close she came and how little she knew. She had not been a bad owner. She had been a loving one, working from a map full of errors she never knew she carried. And that is the quiet truth at the center of this whole story. The things we get most wrong with our cats are rarely the things we do not care about. They are the things we are certain we already understand. The full bowl, the chubby cat, the water by the food, the spiteful accident, the ruined couch. Each one feels like kindness. Each one, repeated long enough, can become harm. Loving a cat was never the hard part. Maya had that in abundance from the very first rainy night under a parked car. The hard part, the part almost no one tells you, is learning to see the small, silent creature as it truly is. So tonight, look at the cat sharing your home with new eyes. Notice whether the water sits too close to the food. Notice the bowl that never empties, and the toys gone still in the corner. Lift a lip and look at the gums. Watch for the slow blink and learn to send it back. Your cat has been speaking to you this whole time, in a language quieter than words, hoping, in its patient way, that one day you would finally learn to listen. It is not too late. It almost never is. If this story moved you or made you see your own cat a little more clearly, take a moment to subscribe so more people can learn what Maya learned before their own ordinary Tuesday arrives. And right now, before you scroll away, reach over and rest your hand on the small, warm creature beside you. Hold them close. They have so much they have been trying to tell you,